Hi, and thanks for tuning in to our live radio show. Moments of Clarity with Tiffany will begin in just a few moments. Please stay tuned. Kindly take this opportunity to share this show on your platforms because change can only come when we stand together as one, especially when it comes to ending the stigma on mental health.
You are not alone, and help is out there.
Kids have mental health issues, and we also need to learn coping skills.
Let's get started and let the show begin. See you soon.
Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, your soul will align. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I am a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about how trauma affects the brain, especially sudden loss and so many things, with a wonderful guest that had experienced trauma and has done so much research on how to heal it. And I want to informally introduce Ann Hince, but we're going to formally introduce her as we start the radio show as soon as Ed unmutes his mic. And I want to say lots of love from India, from Jason, all the way from India. Thank you, Jason, good friend of mine. And I'm so happy to have you here. And also, Son of Innovations, thank you. If you're watching, please leave a comment. Say hi, where you're watching from. And you're always welcome to call in 866-826-1340, and I'll have that up later. And Summit Innovation says, hi, Ann.
Hi.
Does our sound okay? Because I guess it was breaking up earlier.
It does. It sounds good now. Yeah.
Okay, good. Looking forward to hearing your story. Me too. And so Ann's been working on trauma and found a release that helped these emotions after finding her mother dead at age 19, which most of you guys know I've lost my parents at a young age around then too. So I'm looking forward to this. Kenny Miles. Good morning, Tiffany's. Good morning, Kenny. It's been a while. Good to see you back. And enjoy the show. And Ed, if you kindly unmute, we can start the radio. It always pops in when I make mid-sentence too. It catches us off.
Radio Network.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hello, and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I'm Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about how trauma can affect our brain and all sorts of things and ways to heal from it. Before I formally introduce my guest, I want to say hi to Ed at the studio.
Hey, happy Thursday, everybody.
Happy Thursday, Ed. I need that cough button today, and I don't have it in the studio. But I'm healing. For those of you guys, I was out last week because I isolated. If you see the background is different with COVID, precautions, and usually I work from home, so it's been kind of rough. So it's probably God's way of slowing me down a bit. Like, he could have stopped my internet instead of giving me COVID. Just kidding. But at the same time, I didn't want to miss this week. Sound, like this. But how are you feeling, Ed?
I'm starting to feel the effects of, because it's starting to warm up now, the oak trees are starting to bloom. So here comes the pollen.
Allergies.
Here comes the pollen. So it'll be that green, that green dust that'll be all over your car for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, it actually clogged up my beetle, and the vertebral top was dripping, and I took it in for that because of the pollen.
Yeah, the little seedlings.
$1,000 later because of the pollen. But
yeah.
Anyway, good to have you here. Everyone, when you call in, 866-826-1340 to join our conversation anytime. Love to have your feedback. 866-826-1340. And please say hi to Ed when you do. So my guest today, and it's kind of a morbid title, like when she was 19 years old, she woke up one morning to find her mother dead in her bathroom. And 20 years later, the tears from that trauma were just under the surface. So she found a simple technique that helped release these emotions, but she went further and can now put her awareness inside her body and has changed the bone structure of her skull. And she has pictures to verify that too. She's found that seeking out our truth, what we truly feel, and accepting those feelings is key to our inner peace. And welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, Ann Hince.
Thank you, Tiffany. It's great to be here.
So don't forget, you get a bell every time you see Moments of Clarity. And so let's start from the beginning. Okay, obviously you were 19, but before that, like, what started this whole passion of yours? And when you found your moment of clarity?
Okay. Well, I had a lot of trauma before that as well. It started right at birth. I was born with my shin up against my right foot up against my shin. So I had 6 weeks of physical therapy before I was adopted into a family where they had adopted my brother, and then they adopted a little girl, and they had her for 6 months, and then the birth mother changed her mind, and she was given back to the birth mother, and I was the replacement for that. So, that has some pretty deep-seated trauma that I didn't really.
It was a sister of yours that was taken back to her birth mom?
Well, it wasn't. It was someone else that had been adopted into the family.
Like a foster
sister. It wasn't related at all.
No, I know, but still,
someone else who was going to be adopted.
Right.
Yeah. So that would have been trauma for my parents and my brother to have a baby for 6 months and then have her taken away. And then, obviously when I'm then brought into the family, they're not going to really trust that situation until 6 months down the road to know if they're actually going to end up keeping me. So that was my start.
How old were you at that time? How old were you at that time?
I was 6 weeks. I just had
6
weeks. I'd had 6 weeks of physical therapy that I knew.
You didn't know what was going on at the time. In retrospect.
Right. Yes. I now know that all that is stored subconsciously. Yeah.
Okay.
So then, another big part of my journey was when we lived all over the world. So when we were living in Hong Kong, my brother and I were sent back to boarding school in England, which is a long way away. And I was actually sent to his school, which is a boys' boarding school. I was the first girl boarder at a boys' boarding school. And I was teased horrifically, mercilessly for 2 years. So that also lived inside of me. And then, when I was 19, I did wake up one morning, found my mother dead in the bathroom. And I was the only one home.
Wait, back up. You were teased because of...
Well, I was the only girl, so I was a good object for them to tease, and my teeth were terrible. I've had 3 sets of orthodontic work over my lifetime, so that's why they tease me. And being the girl, it's easy to tease someone. My bedroom was in the sick bay. Right? They all had dorms to sleep in, and I had to sleep in sick bay because I was the only girl. So yeah, that affected me.
They usually say when boys tease you is because they like you when you're young, but girls don't really like it.
Yeah, it wasn't because they liked me.
Oh, okay. So yeah, a lot of bullying and a lot of trauma from an early age. And then you were 19. I'm sorry. Just wanted to clarify that.
Well, I guess I should back up still. It's like both of my parents became alcoholic in those years between, those boarding school years. Both became alcoholic. So it was actually hell living at home. My dad was drunk during the day and the rest of the day, but then he'd come home from the pub drunk, and then my mum would start drinking, and she would drink a bottle of sherry a day. So I couldn't trust anything. They'd say one thing at night, and in the morning it would be different. My dad had anger issues, so I actually kind of stopped talking because anything I said was wrong. My opinion was always wrong, so there was no point voicing it. So I kind of just stopped. And he teased my voice as well. He teased me about my voice. So I kind of stopped talking and kind of, retreated inwards. So that obviously is like walking on eggshells. It was actually PTSD. I realized eventually that's why I had PTSD from that time period. And then, one day.
It's PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and anything can traumatize us, from something severe to anything that is traumatic to us, and what builds a fear and what traumatizes us. So it can be a number of things. Just clarifying it for our listeners.
Yeah. And then, when I was 19, I woke up one morning and found my mother dead in the bathroom. And that was a huge trauma, but I didn't know how to deal with it. My mother actually had cancer. She had throat and lung cancer from drinking and smoking. And we only talked about it one time. We were told about 6 months prior to this that she had cancer and there was nothing that could be done about it. And we only talked about it that one day. We never mentioned it again, ever. It's just the way our family worked.
She was on chemo. She died from cancer. She was on chemo.
No, she was too far gone.
So
they didn't do anything. She was too far gone. She didn't even stop smoking.
Wow.
So yes, nothing.
I'm sorry for your loss.
So yes, but she died. One of the tumors in her lung burst. So she suffocated on the blood that came out of that. So so it was traumatic because there was also blood everywhere. So, and I had to find my brother. He was at his girlfriend's house and I didn't know who she was. My dad was living in Saudi Arabia at the time, so I had to call him and let him know. So it was traumatic, but I just didn't know what to do with it. I just kept on going with life because that's all I knew. That was the water I swam in. So I kept on going through life, and it wasn't until I was in my late 30s that I had my moment of clarity.
Here we go.
There we go. And I had lived all these years, with the PTSD. I was very reactionary. I was very afraid. I realized later that I was actually afraid to leave the house and to go on a trip to an appointment that was a couple of hours away because I was afraid that I wouldn't come back which is what happened with the adoption. Right? I was taken away from everything I knew and never returned. So I lived in that fear a lot. And around this time frame, I had like a business altercation with a couple of other mothers at school. I made a decision for my business, and there was nothing wrong with it. It was a fine decision, but they didn't like the decision. And they were two very strong women, very self-confident women, and I was not. So my mind just went round and around, replaying what had happened over and over again. I couldn't sleep for days. And that was my moment of clarity when I realized that I must be holding something in from childhood that's making me do this, because I know other people wouldn't react this way. I mean,
Right.
it wasn't that big a deal, but it just kept going on in my mind. So
It's crazy how it happens, like the fear of abandonment or whatever. Something happens later on in life, and to others, it's like, what's the big deal? But subliminally, when we've gone through a tragedy or a sudden loss or anything like that, a trauma, it kind of brings back those senses of what we went through back then, and it elaborates to what we're going through currently, if it's not recognized or known. I've been through that too.
And I realized that was more my dad, right? Because he was an authority figure. And whenever he told me off for doing something that he didn't like, that's what I did. I was just replaying that reaction to that. So that wasn't necessarily my mum's death so much. It was more the PTSD of the authority figures.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fairly soon after that I had a doctor's appointment that I went to. And the doctor recognized that I was more stressed than I should be, because I was a stay-at-home mother with two young boys. So I shouldn't have been that stressful. And he asked me what my stress level was on a 0 through 10. And I said it was an 8. And then he asked me why. And that's when I knew straight away that it was my mum's death, because those tears were just under the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And so he used this weird technique with me called EFT, which is short for emotional freedom technique. And it's also called tapping. He used it with me on my mother's death for about 15 minutes. And I walked away from that appointment being able to tell the story of her death in my mind without the tears there. And that was another moment of
emotional breakthrough, all of that. And before we get into EFT, and that it's definitely a therapeutic technique that I've heard a lot of people use that is very, very powerful. Let's just take our first commercial break, and then we'll get into that, so that we don't have to interrupt into it. And thanks to everyone that's watching virtually. I can see a lot of our friends here. We'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hello, my name is Lucy Lopes, and I'm a real estate agent that supports ending the stigma on mental health with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I am also passionate about helping you buy or sell your home. With times being so difficult, I'm here to help. Contact me at lucylopes.com. That's LUCYLOPES.com. Let me assist you through this pandemic and know that you are not alone.
If you're a show host, gamer, live streamer, podcast host, or radio show host that would like your message to get out and reach up to 30 platforms, then there's an affordable way to do that. It's called Restream. Restream makes it easy to broadcast professional live videos from your browser to multiple social platforms at once. Start your live show with guests, brand it with logos and overlays, and create an interactive experience for your audience. Learn more at Restream.io and mention Moments of Clarity for special offers.
Hi, this is Tiffany Werner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
Are you looking for a great book? If you like to root for the underdog, Joe Potosi's book is a book for you. A real American Odyssey that will grab your attention with its fast-moving narrative. You won't be able to put this masterpiece down. When the Dust Settled by Joe Potosi. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Zulin Press.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hi, and welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we are talking about how trauma just affects our brain, neuroplasticity, everything, and how if we don't heal from past trauma, if we don't address the wounds that we've faced, they can resurface. And I say this all the time. We can't brush things under the rug, because eventually that rug, the mound will get so much bigger that we'll end up tripping over it eventually in life. And to face our trauma, and through whatever technique works for you. And my guest today went through some severe trauma, found her mother at age 19 who was dead on the bathroom floor, and after some years realized that she hadn't dealt with the trauma, and found a way that has helped her. And welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, Ann Hince. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
And so welcome callers who call in. If you have any feedback or questions or anything to add to the conversation, please feel free to 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340, and say hi to Ed when you do, and just to give feedback if you have a question or a contribution to share with the show. We're on live and on several platforms: YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live at Tiffany Warner, Twitter Live at MOC with Tiffany, and Facebook Live at MOC with Tiffany, among other channels too. I see a lot of people that are watching from all several platforms: LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So thank you so much for tuning in and virtually. And it's always nice to see comments and callers. Stacey McConnell from YouTube says, hard to imagine how traumatizing it would be to find your mother. And it is. I have been a therapist because of that. The Ann Hince, welcome back. And so let's start with what worked for you. You were starting to talk about EFT, which is tapping, and that is a style of therapy. And so I want to kind of put a disclaimer here. Not one style of therapy works for everybody. So different things work for different people. Like there's EMDR, there's talk therapy, psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, on and on and on. So not one treatment works across the board for everyone. So if you find a therapist that has one style of therapy, just continue to keep trying, because you will heal through one of them. But you got to find what works for you. Just kind of like with NA and AA and rehabs and things like that. Not one specific style of recovery works for everybody, you know. Anyway, before I get into that, we have a caller, Joe. Hi, Joe. Thanks for calling in, and welcome to Moments of Clarity.
Thank you for taking my call. And I want to thank the guest so much for coming on, being so transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Before I ask her the question, I have a question for you. Shock treatment, that's what I know it as. Is that a form of therapy, or is that...
It's called ECT. And it does work for depression for some people. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a big fan of it, and I've never referred a client to go receive it, but I have heard of clients receiving it and having it work. So that's
what's it called?
ECT, electric.
ECT, okay.
So I know it's short for something I can't think, but it's ECT.
When the guest was talking, I thought that's what she was referencing at first, because I knew it was like a abbreviation was similar, but I said that would be right.
ECT and EFT are similar, but no, she's not talking about electric shock therapy. But
Right.
I thought they had done away with it, but then I guess they had some breakthrough findings that it works for depression as well as ketamine treatment. It works for things like that, and that's a cat tranquilizer that people back in the day used to party, Special K or whatever it's called.
So, okay.
They're finding ways that I don't know that are helping people heal in all different avenues.
Great. So I'm at work. I didn't catch the very beginning of the show, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch the very beginning. But what a powerful story! Thank you for coming on and being so transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And ma'am, what was your name again? I'm sorry.
Ann Hince.
Ann.
I'm terrible with names. I mean, I call people the wrong names all the time. So thank you, Ann. It's very much appreciated. But the question I have is simply this. And I know you talked about these moments of clarity, but what has it been like for you when you share your experiences with others, like from when you first started public speaking, openly speaking about everything, up until today? Have you seen like how it's helped you grow and become even more the person that you are today?
Thank you for that question. Yes, I had done so much work before I started sharing my story that it is just a story to me now. I don't have any emotions around it anymore, which has been part of the journey. So it's pretty easy to share my story. I find that other people will react to it, right? Other people will have emotions about it, and that's their part of what I'm talking about, but I don't have any feelings around it. I mean, it's getting easier, obviously, because I've done it more and more, and I'm actually telling more and more parts of the trauma, right? I really just only started with the parents being alcoholics and fighting my mother, but I'm realizing that people maybe need to hear more about the adoption and the boarding school and those other things as well.
Mm-hmm. It does. I mean, it makes the story even more powerful, and the more we talk about our stories and our journeys, the more we heal. And I'm with you, and I'm happy to say of the trauma that I've been through, but eventually, I feel like I've been telling it so much that it's like, but that means it's healing because it doesn't bring tears to talk about. Back in the day when I would be afraid to tell people that my parents died or something because of that pity look or and they don't know what to say. And it's like, it's fine. I'm just telling you, like, eventually I'm just telling, like it gets easier the more you tell.
Now the other part, Joe, there's a little bit more I wanted to share for you, is we haven't got to the end of my story yet, but I have x-rays that show my skull from like this past year and then 2013. And when I look at the side, the x-rays from the side, these are the ones from the front, but I also have ones from the side. And when you look at it, you can see that the one from last year is a more confident person than the one from 2013. It's actually a more confident stance. So just letting the emotions go actually changes the posture, so you become more positive, more self-assured.
That's amazing. And there's so many questions I have for you. I know we have limited time.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again, Tiffany, for having such great guests all the time. But I'd like to touch on one thing, if I could. The whole adoption thing. That's relatable to me to an extent that as a child, I was right on the cusp of being adopted. But it fell through. And I won't get into that for the sake of time. And I remember how devastated I was when that didn't happen. And looking back, now that I had that opportunity to look back, I'm glad that I wasn't separated from my brothers and my sister. And we went through everything together, And
yeah.
So you're a stronger woman, I believe, because of what you've been through. And if you look in a dictionary for a survivor, there's a picture of you. So thank you.
Thank you. I do believe the more trauma we have in childhood, the greater our capacity for spiritual growth.
Yes. And again, thank you. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you for calling in, Joe, and for sharing. And it's great questions that you've been bringing up. And have a wonderful day. Always welcome to call in 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340, and say hi to Ed when you do. Have a nice day, Joe, and please keep watching. And thanks for tuning in and supporting the show. I think we have another call. Gary, Garish, welcome to Moments of Clarity.
Hello.
Is this Garish?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Garish. How are you? First time caller. In my notes, it said Gary, but I kind of figured it was you.
Yeah, so thank you again for bringing me up and supporting you and supporting the shows. Thank you.
So do you have a comment, contribution, feedback?
I do. Just a contribution, if that's okay. And, sometimes I think that the people who are young and go through this stuff, they don't know what to deal with. And some people, they go suicidal. Some people, they go in many different directions. And the way you did is you saw to help people and to help yourself to the next level. So I'm just glad that you're here, and I'm just glad that what you have gone through to share your story, because it's very important to let other people know that it's not easy to lose someone, especially in that age.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I congratulate you on whatever you're doing right now, supporting you in every way, form.
He's talking to you,
Ann. And you.
No, I think he's talking to you. It's okay. But yeah, this one's for you. But yes, thank you for your comments and feedback and support, Girish. And it means, and I agree 100%. And you get a bell for being a first time caller. That it's not easy to share our story and to talk about. I mean, and what Ann was saying, she just started talking about the alcoholism and the operation and all of that stuff and adoption, more so than just not just, but the tragedy of finding her mother dead. And those are things that were probably surfaced under the skin as well that need to come out. We need to be completely transparent to heal. And there's no shame in anything. I was going to look at you and be like, oh my gosh, you had alcoholic parents, or oh my gosh, you were born with what? Like, it's not like that. It's more like, wow, and look at you now. And look at what you've been through, and you didn't victimize, you're surviving, and you didn't pull the victim role. You found ways to do this and ways to help others and sharing your story. This worked for me, so then I'm going to share it with others. That's what you're doing. That's why you're on the show. And it's amazing to hear people.
I mean, I did play the victim role, right? I was a victim for a long time until I didn't want to be anymore. I had to really decide to change, to make that change and use that will. I was determined to change. My brother, like Gary was saying, my brother went the opposite direction, and he died at 53 of alcoholism. So we can make that choice, but sometimes it does take falling down before we decide to get up again.
Mm-hmm. Well said. The poetry's for that. The rock bottom is the foundation where we can rebuild ourselves. So
yeah,
it's a mindset. Do you want to be the survivor or the victim? And the victim role gets us nowhere. It's just always me, and we self-destruct. Or we could survive and we can do things like with what we've been through and how we react to our situations define our character and shows how we can be. Are we going to let the tragedies in our lives really break us down and hold us back from reaching our full potential? Or are we going to say these are signs that we were meant to do something with? So I'm on the same page as you.
Yes, that's what I take from my adoption now. There was a reason.
Yeah,
right? There was a reason
life would have been like
that I was adopted.
You what?
Yeah.
You don't know what it would have been like.
I feel now there was a reason that I was adopted, right? That I.
Because honestly, you don't know what your life would have been like if you hadn't been. Could have been worse. You never know. But Girish, thank you. Do you have any more comments or feedback? Okay, well, thanks for calling in and have a wonderful day. And so we were going into the EFT. So you found EFT, and what does it stand for, and how did that help you?
Right, so it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, which sounded really weird to me to begin with, but down the road I realized that it really does provide emotional freedom. But it was when I left that doctor's office, that was another moment of clarity for me, because I hadn't realized that we actually keep all these memories physically stored in our body. And that was the first time that I had really felt like a shift in the moment, and it was so amazing to me. So that next day or the next couple of days, I wanted to know that it really worked and that just wasn't a fluke, that one-time thing, because I have an engineering background. I like to know something's working. So I had a cat at home, a 17-year-old cat that needed to have daily saline shots. And the first time I gave him a shot, my hand was just shaking so much. I was just so afraid of giving him a shot. And so I thought, well, this is a great test case. So it's also called tapping. So I tapped about my fear of giving this injection to my cat, my fear of hurting my cat, and the memories around injections, because I'd had a lot. And the next day when I had to give him a shot, it just slid right in. My hand didn't shake at all. It was just totally calm and peaceful. And that was the point that I knew EFT was really powerful, and deceptively so, because it doesn't look like you're doing much. You're actually just tapping on different points in the body as we're talking through an event that happened or the feelings that we're experiencing. And the tapping will let the stuck energy of those feelings leave the body. And that's when I realized it was really powerful, and I started using it every day. I started noticing when I was feeling emotional, and then I would tap it out and I would become calm. And my mind started to become quiet, which was really nice. And I decided I wanted more. I just wanted more of this. So I wrote down every emotional memory that I could think of from my childhood on a few sheets of paper. And I tapped through one each night for about an hour to an hour and a half every night. And I found my mind just becoming quieter and more peaceful. And it was really great. I actually remember opening the kitchen door at one point and saying to myself, it feels like I'm living in a different reality, because my mind, those words that I used to criticize myself and judge other people, those were my dad's words that had been programmed inside of me. And it took tapping on those words, and then they were gone from my mind.
Yeah, just changing your negative mindset and negative automatic thoughts that come from other things into positive affirmations. Can you define for me what tapping actually is? Like when you say I was tapping on the cat or tapping on my words, what do you mean?
Yeah, I wasn't actually physically tapping on the cat. I was tapping about the cat. So yeah, it's a form of acupressure almost. So we're tapping on certain points in the body, which are the ends.
Here, like, isn't it kind of like that, right?
Yeah, they're the ends of meridian systems. So the specific points, like the crown point on the top of the head, the beginning of the eyebrow, the edge of the eye, under the nose, on the chin, the collarbone, and about 4 inches under the armpit. Those are the standard points that we chat through those over and over again as we're bringing some emotional memory to mind, or just if we're in some traumatic event right now and we're really feeling emotions right now, we can just tap and we don't even need to use words. The words we use are just to bring the emotion back to mind, right? So I would put myself back where I was in my bedroom, waking up that morning and noticing how quiet it was, because my mother normally had the radio on. So I would talk through the whole events of that morning and tap when I felt emotion, so that the emotion would dissipate, and then I'd carry on with the story. And then I'd go back to the beginning again, tap through it again, talk through it again. And what it's doing is opening up the subconscious mind. So more memories, more details will come out as we let go of those emotions. So it's almost like we're opening up an inner wound.
Is there a certain number of taps you have to do each time?
People tend to do about 5 to 7 taps at each place, but it really doesn't matter. And we're tapping firm enough to make a difference, but we're not doing it so gently it's not doing anything, but we're not going to hurt ourselves. So kind of somewhere in the middle. And it doesn't matter. You can just do one side of the the body, or you can do both. And you just do it again and again until you can feel a shift. Now, one of the great things about EFT is it actually provides feedback. So you'll know as you're talking through an event, your voice will change, right? You might be really angry to begin with. And as you let go of that tension, just becomes words, just like you're reading from a book. A lot of people will yawn, and that's a sign that we're releasing tension. Tears are obviously a sign that we're releasing tension. Some people will burp. Some people will get really, really tired and need to take a nap. And those are all signs that the body is releasing stored tension.
Yeah, it is. And that is so important to release all of that stored tension and find a way to, I think it's all about awareness in whatever tools we do, like breathing techniques or things that work for each individual, to bring awareness to when we're feeling that trauma coming back, or we're feeling that sense of anxiety or subliminal fear of abandonment, fear of unknown, fear of commitment, fear of any trauma from like sexual abuse in the past, from adult survivors of child sexual abuse to physical abuse, to all of that, and can be triggered later on in life. And to focus and be aware of it rather than take it out on other people, become irritable, become subconsciously not even realizing that you're doing it, because it's projecting past trauma onto the present that is just resurfacing. And that's amazing.
That's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
The first step is becoming aware of it. And
Right.
To begin with, I might only recognize once a day when I was becoming emotional. But as you do it more and more, you become more and more aware.
Mm-hmm. And then that's a comforting thing. And I'm glad you found that works for you. It's time for our second break too. And there's some other techniques and things we're going to talk about, like meditation and other key points that inquiring minds want to know and want to learn from what Ann knows. And she's been on several podcasts talking about this, and a great speaker. And the more we share, the more we heal. And we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
We will return to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
If you are like most people, you worry with the financial challenges you face today. How do you protect your family from financial ruin? How will you reduce your liabilities and get out of debt sooner? And how can you deal effectively with the constant changes in your job, your career, and your business? Overcoming your financial challenges is like building a house. You must build from the ground up. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 basic money skills so you can achieve your dreams and end your worry. Call us today and schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. Call Scott Bigley at 727-422-7761.
Are you having trouble staying sober after you've completed rehab and need a positive environment to help you continue sobriety? At Real Recovery Sober Living, we strive in both community and environment for men in early sobriety to help support you while in early recovery. For only $750 a month, we cover everything you need when it comes to a safe, clean, and accountable environment necessary for success in sobriety. Check out our website at realrecoveryfl.com. That's realrecoveryfl.com. We have 6 locations in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Brandon, North Tampa, and Bradenton, because everyone deserves a quality, sober living.
Hi,
Hi, this is your host, Tiffany Warner from Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I want to thank you for all your support on ending the stigma on mental health for over the past 7 years and with over 600 episodes, as well as several award nominations and placing as a finalist in 3 categories on the People's Choice Podcast Award last year. If you're listening to this on audio, please visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Moments of Clarity with Tiffany and enjoy viewing previous shows in case you missed any live. If you're interested in advertising and would like to promote your company, it is affordable and an effective way to get your company the attention it deserves. I also welcome potential guests as well, and all information can be found on my website at mocwithtiffany.com. Thank you again for your continued support, as change can only come when we stand together as one.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hi, and welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And my guest today has been through a lot of trauma and recovered well with techniques that have worked for her. And addressing trauma is so important, to not just try to brush it under the rug, because it will resurface later. And she's living proof. And welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, Ann Hince.
Thank you. So maybe I can carry on my story a little bit here.
Yes, and we have just a few minutes, so carry on and promote yourself and give you the stage.
Okay, so my mind became quiet and my awareness expanded. So that word means a lot more to me now than it ever did before. So I started to become aware of actually how I felt during the day. But then I went deeper. So underneath every emotion, like the word frustration or anger or sadness, there's actually a set of physical sensations that we feel in the body. And I hadn't been aware of them to begin with, but then I became aware of them once I'd let go of these traumas. And then that's felt like a deeper level. So instead of focusing on the words, the emotions, I could actually feel the physical sensations. I would do the same thing. I would feel those sensations and they would dissipate, and I would hold my awareness on them again and they would dissipate even more. So I would do it over and over again, just like I did with EFT on the outside with the words. Now I'm doing it on the physical sensations. And at some point I noticed that I could actually keep my awareness on the inside as opposed to letting it go, kind of like when you have a toothache or a headache or a stomach ache, you know where that pain is. But once the ache is gone, you can't pinpoint it anymore. I found that I could keep my awareness on the inside still. And then I could actually work directly on the tension inside as opposed to the physical sensations. I'm actually working at a deeper level. So that was like the next step on the journey. And then I'm releasing more and more tension deeper inside. And I was actually able to get my awareness inside my head. And then I'd start feeling this release. It felt like, and it sounded like I could hear it. It sounded like old fabric ripping. And I realized after some research that it was the connective tissue that was releasing. And it's just releasing tension at a deeper level. And so eventually I'd actually feel my skull bones relax further than they had been before because they weren't relaxed. And so that's why eventually I had these x-rays taken just as part of my orthodontic work and can actually see how the skull bones have relaxed more into alignment. My neck is straighter. My jaw, you can see, was way off to the side and it's now more in the center. And even my eye sockets have aligned. And I didn't know any of this was possible before, which is why I'm sharing my story so that people know how far we can go. And I've even grown 1/2 an inch as a 55-year-old, which I think is kind of unusual.
Oh, you that before. They disorder, don't they? It even so we watch virtually for our radio listeners. I've got this picture up on virtual that has a picture of Ann, her X-ray at in 2013 and then one in 2012. Your teeth even look straighter. You can tell the nose is more symmetrical, the eyes, and definitely
Yeah,
your
the
neck.
tooth roots on my front lower teeth, you can see, have grown.
Yeah.
Because they were pretty short and pretty loose, to be honest. So
Okay.
it's nice that they've grown too. So yeah, it is, to me, it's more of alignment. We talk about alignment like in the spiritual community. We talk about being in alignment with our thoughts and with our desires. But I didn't know, you could actually make your physical body come more into alignment too. And because I can sense on the inside now, I can sense the tension and now the lack of tension, that I know I have to be more in alignment with, spirit, whatever, more in alignment.
Mind, body, spirit. And do you find
Yes.
that since, because you had mentioned earlier, you just recently started talking about the alcoholism, the adoption, and born with your foot up against your shin and things like that, rather than the trauma, just focusing on the trauma of finding your mother dead at the age of 19. Do you think that the tapping and releasing and healing of finding, like focusing on one trauma, has led you to be able to slowly accept and work towards healing from the next traumas as well? Is that the starting point that you?
Yeah, it's very much a layer by layer process, right? Whatever comes to mind. That's why I talk about finding our truth. Is, well, how are we feeling right now? Because if we let go of how we're feeling right now, if it's not a great feeling, then the layer underneath will show up, and then we can work on that, and then the layer underneath. So yes,
We're all onions, aren't we?
Absolutely. And to a deeper and deeper extent. So I feel like I'm now releasing subconscious trauma that was stored in my bones, because that's where the tension is. And so I think what I'm releasing now is from those early childhood years, that was where it goes straight into the subconscious mind. So yeah, right at a really deep level. But then some things will still happen these days that, catch me off guard, right? And I'll find I'm feeling emotional, and I'll still work with the tapping or with one of those more outer layers to get further in.
So we're running, and what you're saying is great stuff. You're all set up with the microphone and everything, and I know you have a YouTube channel. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. I have a book. It's where I write down all my story. So that's available if anyone wants to hear in more detail.
You didn't tell me about the book. Tell us about the book now.
It's called.
You left that out of your intake.
It's called A Pathway to Insights, and it's
okay.
My theory on how we store all this in our bodies, and then the steps I took to release it. But I do also have a YouTube channel where I go into some of I've got an EFT demo in there, and a demo on how to feel those physical sensations and let it go at that deeper level. So feel free to look at those.
We have 5 minutes.
Just look under my name. Just look under my name, Ann Hince. Yeah,
Hince is like spelled like Prince, but Hince, Hince, or pronounced like Prince, but Hince. We have 5 minutes left, but how dare you keep your book away from me? And just by doing the research on you, I found the YouTube channel too, and you're on Facebook as well. And it's not really under your name; it is Ann Hince Wisdom. So if you look on Facebook, Ann Hince, ANN, no E at the end, ANNHINCE Wisdom, and you can find her Facebook channel. And I think most of that stuff is on there too.
Yeah, and I like writing things on my public Facebook page. So I love interacting with people. I'm willing to answer questions. If anyone has any questions, just put them on there. And I'm explaining things a lot. We have a lot of memes going around, like of spiritual and self-healing memes. And from my experience, they're not always saying the correct thing. From my experience. So I'm actually explaining them in more detail on there, which I know would help me if I was learning this pathway. So yeah, feel free to follow me on there.
Well done. And thank you so much for being a guest on Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, and for taking your time to explain. And we all have our journeys, and we all have ways to go and improve further, but you've come a long way, and you're a survivor, and I love survivors that don't play the victim role. And thank you so much for your time. And
Thank you for letting me share.
And thanks for all the listeners and all of you that have helped support the show. We're on every Thursday and Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. And tomorrow is a great show. This is like Survivor Week. Another great survivor, and putting her she calls herself Queen T, but Queen Abel, and does some really great poetry and lyrics, and you don't want to miss it. She's a great, powerful speaker, just like Ann. And so 12 to 1 every Thursday and Friday. We're on YouTube, LinkedIn Live, Facebook, Twitter, and then you can find us on replay on all streams of podcasts. And thanks again for everything. Be kind to yourself and be kind to a stranger, because you never know what they're going through. Thanks to Ed. Thanks to the station. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend and be safe out there.
Now it clicks. Don't put yourself down. Time for a change. Believe in yourself. Time to rearrange. Be your best friend. Bring hope to your day. Lose your critic. Get out of your way. Now it clicks. Moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it. Moments of clarity. To yourself, be kind. It will please your mind. Find your joy. Trust in you. Put in the time. You'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love. Your soul will align. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity.